بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لوليه والصلاة لأهلها أما بعد. So the last 3 days have been very nice, alhamdulillah, and we have been covering a lot of basic introductory principles before we actually dive further into Masnavi. Wa alaikum assalam. Right, so as you have the introduction now and you know what context Masnavi starts in, right? And we started already with the first few verses. I think I should switch back to my laptop because this is a bit confusing. Right, that's much better. Right, welcome everyone. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So just type a quick yes if you can see my screen and you can hear me. And then let's dive into Masnavi. So I'll just recap where we were, where we left off. So I'm just going to zoom in a bit so you can see nicely. Right, so Maulana Rumi started off by saying that listen to this reed, how it complains, right? So already he's expecting you to be in the context of what he is talking about, right? That's why the introductory lessons that you are given were very important to give you a context of where we are starting off. Because if I just started the first day and I said, listen to this reed, how it complains, and you wouldn't know where we are, what we're talking about, what's the context, right? But alhamdulillah, now we have a very good concept of what Maulana Rumi is talking about. So he said, listen to this reed, and I told you the reed in this example here is the ruh, right? So he uses the word reed, right? Or the example of a reed or a flute to resemble it with ruh, right? Now, how is ruh similar to reed, and what is the similarities? You will understand as we go further into Masnavi, right? So for now, we will continue from here. So listen to this reed, how it complains, telling a tale of separations. So your ruh was separated from its source, and it is now here in your body. And it has always been there in your body, right? Now it's time to listen to what it's saying. Okay? So what is it saying? It says, ever since I was parted from the reed bed, meaning ever since I was parted and separated from the source, right? Man and woman have moaned in unison with my lament. Okay? Explain that. I want a bosom torn by severance. So the ruh is seeking a chest, a heart that is torn by severance. that is hurt and broken and shattered, so that it may unfold to such a one the pain of love desire. Because only that person will be able to understand and relate to the ruh. Then he says, everyone who is left far from his source wishes back the time when he was united with it. So this is what the ruh is saying, that anyone who is far from his source is wishing to go back to where it came from. Same thing with the ruh. It wants to go back to the source. Now, the reed continues to complain that in every company I uttered my wailful notes. I consorted with the unhappy and with them that rejoice. So the ruh is crying since the time you were born until now, so that you can listen to it and relate to it. But the happy and the unhappy, the ruh speaks to all of them. It has always been speaking. But the thing happens with men is that everyone became my friend from his own opinion. So everyone got their own opinion about what am I and what I am and what I'm not, right? But no one sought my secret from within me. No one sought my secret from within me, okay? So then the ruh says, my secret is not far from my lament, from my plaint, meaning my secret, that which you don't know about me, that is a secret, right? But ear and eye lack the light whereby it should be apprehended. So the ears and the eyes don't have the capacity and the ability to comprehend the secret of the ruh, because the ruh is non-physical, non-local. It's not from this physical time and space and matter, right? It is out of time, space, and matter. So you cannot understand it with your eyes and your ears because they don't have the light. Now it says, body is not veiled from soul, nor soul from body. So the body and soul, they are here together, right? Your body and your ruh, they are not veiled from each other. They exist with each other, right? Yet no one is permitted to see the soul. No one can see the soul. So I told you the word permitted here is a wrong translation. The stud means there's no way of seeing the soul, right, with your physical body. So if your physical body cannot see it, right, your eyes cannot grasp it, your ears cannot hear it, your senses cannot sense it. So then, how are we supposed to listen to the soul, right? Now, everything will make sense as we continue further. Another thing Masnavi Rumi says here in the next line, the noise of the reed is fire. This noise of the reed is fire. It is not wind. So in this example, he says the reed refers to the body here, and the noise refers to the ruh, right? So this noise of the reed is fire. It is not wind. Whoever does not have this fire, may he not exist. May he be not. May he be not means may he not exist. So the sound that is coming from the flute, don't think it is air that is making that sound. That sound is from fire, a fire source. Now, which fire is the ruh, the essence of the ruh made up of? Which fire is Rumi talking about? He goes on to say, today's lesson, this is where we started, this is where we stopped last, and we'll continue from there. So, he says, it is the fire of love that is in the reed. So the ruh, the reed here, the flute, the ruh, has this fire, the fire of love. right? Now, what is love? Ishq. I said, if you don't understand the concept of ishq and the love that Rumi refers to, you will not understand Masnavi at all. So today I'm going to explain what is love. Okay. The thing is that when we hear the word love or ishq or hub or wood or mawadda or all these things, sometimes we have a misunderstanding of the word. Okay, many people think when they hear the word ishq, it means the love between a man and a woman, right? We are not talking about that love here in this Masnavi. Love that Rumi refers to here is the love that the soul has for its source. It's almost like, say the example of, this is just an example, child and mother, right? Mother and child. How intensely the child loves the mother whilst the child is still a child, right? So when the child is separated from the mother, it starts crying, and it's like it just wants to be back to the source, right? It doesn't want to be separated, right? That extreme love that it has in its essence, in the child's essence, Rumi is saying your ruh has that intense love to go back to the source, yani to Allah. Is the fire of love that is in the reed. So the fire in the reed, in the ruh, is the fire of love. And love that which is pure, because it has been separated from its source, so it wants to go back, and it is full of that love for that source, right? So it is the fire of love that is in the reed. And then it says, it is the fervor of love that is in the wine. So the wine itself does not have anything, right? For the wine to have any effect, it must be taken over by love. So the wine on its own can't do nothing. It's you, when you drink the wine, that you give it intensity or fervor or power. So the power, the wine needs your, so to say, it needs you to involve yourself in it so that it can show its power. If no one drinks it, the wine itself does not have any intensity, any fervor, any power on its own, right? It needs your inclination or your joining with it, or your partaking of it, right? That's when the wine is going to show its effect. So what Rumi is trying to say here is, until you don't get involved with the ruh and connect with it, it's not going to show its effect. Just like how it is the fervor of love that is in the wine. So the love, it's a ishq that's in the wine. That's why when you drink it, it affects you, right? The wine itself does not have any power, but you are the one that give it the power. Similarly, your body has no power. When it connects to the ruh, that's when it gets its power. Okay. So you understood that? Good. If you didn't understand it, and don't worry too much about it. And some of you may have a question, what is wine doing here? Why is Rumi talking about wine, right? So the reason he's talking about wine here is because for the wine to affect and to show its effect, it has to connect with the person who is drinking. If the person does not drink the wine on its own does not have any effect. So it's telling you that the body on its own has no love, no fire, no effect, no fervor, unless the ruh enters into it, right? Then you will see the power or the fire of love in that body. Okay, let's continue. Now, this ruh, the reed is the comrade, friend of everyone who has been parted from a friend. So the flute, the ruh, is the friend of everyone who has been separated from a friend. So it is your best friend, right? If you are lonely in the world, the ruh is your best friend. If you are separated from your friends, your beloveds, your family, your father, mother, your child, wife, whatever, the ruh is your best friend, right? Its strains pierced our hearts. So the strains of the ruh, yani its lament and its call and its notes have pierced through our hearts. That's if you befriend it. Now, next line he says, whoever saw a poison and an antidote like the reed, Hamchuni zehri taryaki kadid, who has seen a poison and an antidote like the reed. So the reed is a poison and the antidote, right? So the reed, if you listen to it and you make it your friend, it is your antidote. But if you ignore it and you do not listen to it, it becomes a poison, right? So that's when the Quran says, فَرِيقٌ فِي الْجَنَّةِ وَفَرِيقٌ فِي السَّعِيرِ. One group in hell and one group in heaven, right? So which group in heaven? Those who made the reed their antidote. And those who made the reed their poison, they end up in hell. Okay. So the ruh, who has seen a poison and an antidote like the reed? There is no other poison and antidote in shifa like the reed, because this is the ultimate poison and the ultimate antidote, right? So if you connect to it and you befriend it, it will treat all your ailments and it will take you straight to everlasting bliss. But if you do not befriend it and you ignore it and you, go against it, right? Then it will be the worst poison that you have ever seen, because it will take you to eternal punishment. Then he says, whoever saw a sympathizer and a longing lover like the reed, have you seen any sympathizer, right? Any person who has sympathy for you and is a longing lover, is longing to love you, it's waiting for you, right? You will not find another similar to the ruh. Now, Rumi says that don't get carried away. The reed tells the way full of blood. The path of the ruh is not an easy path. So don't think you're going to say, okay, I want to connect to my ruh, and you're going to just get connected, right? The reed tells of the way of full of blood. So if you want to walk on this path, it's not an easy path. It's a path full of blood, right? And if you want to know how, this love is attained, how when you connect to the ruh and how that path is, right? If you want to understand that path, he gives you an example and recounts stories of the passion of Majnun. So the ruh قصة هاي عشق مجنون میکند. The Ruh recounts the stories of the passion of Majnun. Now, who is Majnun, right? Majnun here is a specific person that Maulana Rum is referring to. Okay, so to understand this line, you need to understand who is Majnun. So Majnun, normally, if someone is just translating here literally, he will say a mad person. But Majnun here is not a mad person. There is a famous story of Layla and Majnun, right? Who knows of it? Just type yes if you know about the story in the chat. Layla and Majnun. Who knows their story? Just type yes if you know it, or if you heard it, or if you are familiar with it. Let's see who is active today. I'm gonna have a sip of water whilst you type. Naim is saying heard it many times in Tabligh bayans. Okay, good. Right, so basically, the qissa of Layla and Majnun is, I'm not going to give the whole thing, but just to put you in context here, to understand this line. So Layla was a girl, a woman, not a girl, a woman, not so beautiful. She was an average woman. And then Majnun was a soldier. His name is not Majnun, his name was Qais, right? So Qais was a soldier of the army at that time. He happened to fall in love with this girl, right? And he would go all the way and do anything possible to attain this girl, right? So he was madly in love, right? He would suffer for her, he would wait for her, he would travel, journey, and walk distances and do everything he can for Layla, right? So all those stories of Majnun and Layla, how Majnun was crazy for Layla, right? And he never stopped at anything, right, that could stop him from reaching Layla. He broke all boundaries. Now Rumi is saying that the path of the reed tells the way full of blood and recounts the stories of the passion of Majnun. So if you want to reach the Ruh, right, and you want to connect with the Ruh, you need to have this passion of Majnun. You need to be willing to pass all hurdles and to overcome anything that comes in your way, right? You need to be willing to give up everything, right, to reach this, the Ruh. So this path is full of blood, and you need to have the passion of Majnun if you want to reach anywhere close to the Ruh. It's not easy to get there. So don't think you're gonna just get there, because if it was so easy to get there, everyone should have already gotten there. But we know from history there was only a few awliya Allah that actually got there. Okay. Rumi continues and says that if you want this Ruh, the secret of the Ruh, says only the senseless is this, only to the senseless is the sense confided. Now watch these words carefully here. Only to the senseless is the sense confided. So if you want to reach the Ruh, you have to give up all your senses. You have to become senseless. It means what your eyes see, don't believe. What your ears are hearing, don't believe. What your nose is smelling, don't believe. What your mouth is tasting, don't believe. What your hands are touching, don't believe your senses. You have to go beyond your senses and come out of this physical sense and become senseless. See, Majnun was senseless. He didn't care what, right? Who is saying what and who is doing what, and you know, he didn't care. He became senseless, right? That's why he was given the title Majnun. But this person is Majnun. He is senseless. Okay. Now, Rumi is not telling you here to become mad, right? No, right? But what he's telling you is that you need to give up the data that your mind has collected from your senses to get this ruh to start talking to you and to connect with it. So only after you give up your senses, right? Only to the senseless is the sense confided. Okay, then he gives an example. The tongue has no customer except the ear. So just like how the tongue, right, has no customer except the ear. Now, the tongue's job is to speak. And the only person that can understand what the tongue is saying is the person who has ears, right? So say you go to a shop to buy something. The person who is selling you the item, he's speaking and describing to you that item and telling you all the features of it and everything, but you are deaf. Will you be able to understand what that man is saying? Never, never. Only a person who has ears will be able to listen to the tongue, what it's saying. Similarly, only a person who is senseless will be able to understand the sense of the ruh. So the ruh has its own sense, right? It is not in your five senses. This is your sixth sense, sometimes refers to as sixth sense, or your gut feeling, or you can call it, intuition, or as we studied yesterday, the scientists refer to it as non-conscious mind. Okay? So anyways, only to the senseless is the sense confided. The tongue has no customer except the ear. Right? Now, Rumi says that in our woe, the days of life have become untimely. Now, in our woe, meaning in our day-to-day activities and our day-to-day businesses and, in the busyness of life, in our woe, the days of life have become untimely. Our days travel hand in hand with burning griefs. So our days, if you look at the world today, every day is full of grief and sadness and stress and worries and anxieties. That's what the world is treading on today, all right? Rumi says, if our days are gone, let them go. Don't worry. If time in the past you have spent in grief and stress and anxiety and worry, and that those times have gone now, so he says, let it go. Let the past be in the past. If up until today you were not aware of the ruh and the soul and this path that Rumi wants you to walk on, it's fine, right? It does not matter. It does not matter. What is gone, let it go. If our days are gone, let them go. It does not matter. What matters though is, do thou remain, for none is holy as thou art. Do thou remain. let you remain. As long as you remain. Now over here, thou, he is referring to the source, right? And also he is referring to the soul, which comes from the source. So if your soul is remaining and the source which it wants to connect to is always remaining, then nothing to worry about. Because no one is as holy as thou art. No one is as holy as your soul and the source that it wants to connect to. So if you have wasted time and your days and your life and your months and your years, in different things, right? And you have wasted your life. It's only now that you're realizing that, hey, we need to connect to source. So it's never too late. Rumi says it's never too late, right? What's gone, let it go. It does not matter. As long as you remain, you, the soul, remain, and the source which you want to connect to is always remaining, there's nothing to worry about. Now, except the fish, everyone becomes sated with water. Look. See, besides fish, all other animals who are land animals become sated with water. Sated means their thirst is quenched by drinking water. For example, a horse will drink a certain amount and it will be quenched. A cow will drink a certain amount, it will be quenched. A human will drink a certain amount, it will be quenched, right? But the fish never gets quenched with water. It is always in water, right? It is always drinking water. What is Rumi talking about here? He's saying that the soul cannot get enough of the source, right? It's so in love with the source that it continues drinking and drinking and drinking and absorbing that love from source love, right? So besides fish, if you are not fish, then you will become sated with water. Over here, Rumi is also talking about people who are occasional worshippers, occasional musallis, They will make salah for 5 minutes and that's it. Alhamdulillah, we have, made ibadah. So, you are not a fish. You're just going to the masjid for 5 minutes, for 10 minutes, and you think that's it, right? Or you go for Jumu'ah Salah and you think that's it, right? You are not a fish. Because besides the fish, it's only the fish that never becomes sated with water. Except the fish, everyone else becomes sated with water. So a true lover is like a fish. He is always in ibadah. His ibadah is not 5 minutes salah, 2 minutes dua, 10 minutes adhkar, 20 minutes reading Quran. This is for normal people. This is for normal people. People who are lovers, right? People who want to connect to source. They don't become sated with water. They are fish. They are in that water always. Then he says in the next line, whoever is without daily bread finds the day long. See, a person who does not have his bread for the day, you are hungry, you are poor, you are in poverty, and you don't have your daily bread, that day is long for you. The day is long for you. The day does not come to an end. What he's saying here is that a person who is really hungry for source and he's really wanting to connect to source and does not have that connection yet with source, for him every day is long, right? Because he wants that thing that can fill his stomach, that can fill his heart, that can fill his soul, his soul's desire. So he finds every day very long because he's longing for the beloved, right? But a person who does not care about the beloved, he's content with the things of the world. He's got his daily bread, he's got his job, he's got his work, he's got his activities, he's got everything sorted out. So for that person, the day is just like another day. Every day is just like another day, right? It doesn't make a difference to him whether it's Monday, or whether it's Friday, or whether it's Sunday, right? He just goes about daily with his daily activities, and it does not make a difference to him what happens in the day. Okay. Now, Rumi says and gives a warning. Dar niyabat hale pukhta hesh kham. None that is raw understand the state of the right. So he's giving you a warning that those which are kham means those people who are not ripe. They are still raw. They are still busy with dunya. They're still busy with their daily activities, and they are lost in the race of the world, the rat race as they call it. So these people will never be able to understand the condition of the pukhta. Pukhta are those people who have become ripe. Those people who are ready to connect with Allah, right? Those people who are ready to connect with the ruh, and they are ready for the ruh to connect with its source. So these people who are on this line, who are ripe, right? Rumi calls them ripe, like me and you right now. So we are on this path. So our path will never be understood by the people who are raw. So in other words, Rumi is saying that if you are reading my book, and if you are listening to my lesson or my words, and you are a raw person who is not interested in connecting with source, right? And you don't have any idea of that there is such thing as a soul, and the soul is crying to connect to its beloved, its source, then, my friend, you will not understand what we are talking about here in this Masnavi. Okay? So for you, he says, Pasukhan kotah bayat wassalam. Therefore, my words must be brief, and so wassalam, assalamu alaikum, that farewell. If you don't understand what I'm saying here, and you're not ready to understand what is going on here, and the depth of where we're going to be in, and you are not right, then close this book and assalamu alaikum, exit and farewell. So this is the style of Rumi. When he sees that something that he is talking about reaches a point where the reader or the listener is not going to understand what he is saying, he cuts his speech short, right? And you can already see he's telling you goodbye. Because if you didn't understand these things that he mentioned above, right? If you are not a fish, right, and you are content with a few sips of water, then goodbye, right? If you're from those who is worried about the past, and he's stuck in his pains of the past, and he can't let go of his miseries and whatever, he's busy complaining about the day is too long and I don't have my livelihood and all those things. Rumi is saying, I'm not for you, goodbye. Those who are busy with the woes of daily life, right, and they're worried about burning griefs, I have this worry, I have this responsibility, they're worried about dunyavi things. Rumi says goodbye. Now, if you're not senseless, you are still so worried about what people are going to say and what the world is going to say, Rumi says goodbye. Don't come to me and do not read my book. If you're not ready to walk the way full of blood, Rumi says salam. right? Because this is not an easy road, okay? Right, so all of those points, after mentioning them, in the end, Rumi says, "Parsukhan ko dah payat wassalam." My words will be brief for you if you are raw and if you're not ready to understand and not ready to take on this journey which is full of blood, this path full of blood, and this path that requires sacrifice. You're content with few sips of water, and Rumi says, farewell, farewell. And now I'm also gonna ask you, are you ready to go on this path of the Masnavi? Because it's not going to be an easy path, right? Or is this what I explained so far too much for you? If it's too much for you, Assalamu alaikum, stop right here, because what's gonna come further is gonna blow your mind away. So if you're not ready for it, so Rumi is saying farewell. So if you are ready, say yes, I'm ready. Type in the chat. Let me see how everyone is today. And if you have any questions also, you can type for me.